All right, wholeness and welcome in. We are back. We are upgraded. So, yeah, we are back with another episode of my podcast, Omnispectives, where we talk about everything. We talk about all the things that we could think about, and we're just going to take one topic at a time, one Mercury retrograde issue at a time. I was supposed to go live yesterday, but technology was not. I wasn't technologying. Let's just put it that way. But anyway, happy Friday. It is Jupiter Day. It is Abundant Day. It is Venus Day. I hope that y'all are surviving. I hope that y'all are having the best time that you can with what you got and what you are capable of doing. We don't put too much emphasis on perfection. We just take it a moment at a time. So, with that being said, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be okay. It's okay to be whatever it is that you are. And for today's topic, as you can see, what is spirituality? I really have been itching to talk about this one. Um, this one is definitely probably going to take a couple episodes to really dive into because spirituality is just such a broad conversation, a broad topic. So let's just start with the basics. So when it comes to spirituality, I feel like everybody has so many different perspectives, and as it should be, because spirituality, like we said, is a very, very broad topic. There's so many different ways to be spiritual. And I feel like this is such an important conversation to have because of how much spirituality has grown as a conversation, as well as how many people are moving, I don't want to say away from religion, but people are just taking their power back when it comes to what type of religious life they want to live, as well as if they just want to solo dolo it and kind of create their own path, which I also think is very much okay. I think it's very important when it comes to how we believe and how we serve, how we experience should always be an individual experience because we all have different paths. We all have different callings, different purpose, and it just wouldn't make sense for us all to share the same common beliefs for everything. I think it makes the most sense when we all take everything with a grain of salt and we customize our belief system based on what, again, you as an individual came here to experience. It's not about a one size shoe fits all. That's going to be impossible. And I feel like that's why we do tend to have so much chaos when it comes to the spiritual experience, and when it comes to kind of what I talked about a little bit in the last episode, um where we end up falling into like this weird leadership cult kind of thing because everybody's just looking for somebody who seems to know it better to lead. Everybody's looking for a leader. And I feel like when it comes to spirituality, the greatest and the most significant aspect of spirituality is actually individuality. You're not meant to follow anybody but yourself, but you are meant to find a family, and within that family it's only supposed to be a synchronicity. And when I say synchronicity, I don't mean that y'all not always going to be on the same page. Y'all should disagree to agree a lot of the times, actually, because your family is not meant to dictate you, but is meant to help you be accountable, help you question, and to help you really understand what is next for you, how to keep going, how to keep growing. Like, your family isn't supposed to make you feel less of a person. It's actually supposed to help you get closer to the person that you already are. Because this is a journey of remembering. And this is why it's such a key and so important that you don't just look for a leader to follow and to guide you at every point of your life. Like, of course, it's beautiful to have mentors, it's beautiful to have people that can help guide you, but they're not supposed to lead you. You're supposed to lead you. God is supposed to lead you, and if we do add to that your ancestors, your spirit team, your spirit guides, and that's about it. Oh, and then let's not forget the big and the powerful, the earth, nature, the natural laws of the universe. Those are the only things that you should truly be seeking pure leadership from. But everything else should be just little breadcrumbs that you utilize along your journey to help you make sense of what you already have within you. So that's again why we're expanding on the fact that this spiritual journey is more about remembering more than it is about learning. When we do learn, that aspect of it is more about your healing journey and not about your knowledge. And I hope that makes sense, because your healing journey is a very individualistic thing. Your knowledge journey is a very broad thing, and that's because knowledge is infinite. But healing is very individualistic. So, what I mean by that is that somebody can take the same sentence of knowledge and have it utilized in completely different ways. So, something might work for one person but not work for the other person. And that's why I broke it down like that, because there is a difference. And so, with that being said, I feel like it's very important that you go on a journey of self, because we are already spirits, right? We are already the spiritual being. And what we're doing here on this planet is learning how to be human, because there's aspects of being spiritual that you need a physical experience in order to elevate, in order to really understand, because the spirit is all knowing. But even the all knowing still have aspects that it doesn't know. And that's because of the law of the universe, the law of existence and non existence, where there needs to be an opposite. There always needs to be an other side to the scale. And that's why I feel like the whole concept of Ma'at, the goddess Ma'at, is such a powerful thing, because we see it everywhere and every day in everything, where you can't have one thing without the other. You can't have good without bad. You can't have perfect without imperfect. You can't have happiness without sadness or anger. You can't have love without hate. You can't have life without death. You can't have existence without non existence. And I feel like that's where the scales, the balance of Ma'at really comes into play, because we only truly deal with hardship and lessons in areas that we lack balance. And again, just because you are an almighty spirit and you come from the fabric of God and the fabric of the universe does not mean that you are just this perfect thing. There still has to be a balance. There's still an aspect of self. There's still an aspect of everything that you still have to work through. You still have to experience. Whereas on the other side, of course, you have aspects of you that are mastered, and that is where it comes down to the spirit and what spirituality truly is. Because there are aspects of you that are already mastered. There are aspects of you and reality and existence and the universe that you already have a knowingness of, because there's always an aspect of knowingness that is there. But because being human is such a very interesting experience, we come here with amnesia. So we forget a lot of what we already are. We forget a lot about what we already know and what we've already experienced. And that serves such a beautiful purpose, because if you always had the infinite knowledge of all things, you'll miss things. Because like we said, right, there's always a balance. It's impossible for even the all and everything to know everything, because everything is always infinitely expanding. So there's always something to learn. And that's why I love the saying, a wise man knows that he knows nothing at all, because you can still be a wise man and still have things to learn. And I feel like that's the beautiful thing about the universe, and what the universe is always constantly trying to teach itself, which is always constantly being taught to us as well. Everything is infinite, and it's not at the same time. So there's no perfect place or position or anything. There isn't, it isn't. Like, it's such a beautiful paradox. And the more that you accept this paradox, is the more peace you actually bring yourself to, and the more knowingness you actually bring yourself to as well, because you're trying to live more in balance and not fighting the flow of existence. So, what is spirituality? What do you guys think spirituality is? I want y'all to comment in the comment section and let me know. But to me personally, I think spirituality is actually about trying to be human. And it took me a really long time to figure that out, because when you really sit down and think about it, when you really sit in meditation and unfold yourself, you realize that you are always spiritual, and that you already have this infinite understanding inside yourself if you actually took the time to sit down and remember. And again, emphasis on remember, because we are in well, I should say we are coming out of the sleep age of existence, out of the equinox cycle. We are reawakening, which means that we are remembering. There's a lot of things that we have to forget, and it makes, again, all the most sense, because the more you forget, the more you actually allow yourself a genuine experience to remember, but to also have everything laid out in front of you so that you can learn even deeper. You can learn even more. You can open up. You can love even deeper if you allow yourself to take some things away and to experience things all over again, but from a new perspective. So, again, I think spirituality is all about being human, because we are already spiritual. That's the thing that we already have so much of, that it actually makes more sense that spirituality is learning to be human. And through being human, you get to understand the spirit. Because, again, there's so many layers to existence. There's so many layers to experience. And I don't just even mean here on this planet, but I mean experience in all in the universe. Like, even the universe is still always trying to understand itself. So it needs these different physical manifestations in order to truly continue a journey of understanding, a journey of not understanding, so that it can try to just keep having fun. I really feel like the universe is like a very amazing child that is constantly growing and having fun. And it's not so serious, but being human comes with all of these slowed down perspectives, these slowed down experiences, that it kind of comes with a lot. It comes with a lot of emotions, it comes with a lot of experience, it comes with a lot of trial and tribulation, it comes with a lot of things. And I feel like when you're trying so hard to become a spirit again, to become spiritual again, in the terms of, for those who are using spirituality to just become more of themselves, not realizing that they're already spiritual, what ends up happening is that you become very imbalanced, you become very egotistical, you become very chaotic. You become more chaos than you are balanced. And chaos is a beautiful thing as well. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just too much of anything is bad, right? Too much of anything is overwhelming. Too much of anything is anxious, is overflowing in a not so flow state type of way. So it's very important to realize again that you are already spiritual. You've already mastered it. What you are doing here on this earth plane is mastering the aspects that you didn't master, because different forms of spirit, different forms of the universe is younger than the other. So all you are is the fragments of yourself that are younger, that is trying to grow and mature and experience and heal and love and cherish and be angry and exist. You are just trying to exist so that that aspect of yourself can grow and develop. So when you understand that, when you really realize that there are aspects of you that is already an adult, there's aspects of you that is already a master, that is already the universe, but then there's also aspects of you that is a baby, that is new energy, that is new emotionally, new spiritually, and that you came here to have an experience in order to again play that version of yourself out so that it can grow and expand and experience. Then you really start to realize what spirituality really is, which is the younger aspects of yourself just trying to experience, and you getting multiples of chances to redo being young again. Like, that to me is the true fountain of youth that we all talk about. Being able to infinitely be young again and be childlike, that is such a divine experience. And I feel like, again, if you were to really slow down and stop trying to run ahead of yourself and stop trying to live outside of what was already pre-designed within yourself, you'd stop being depressed, you'd stop feeling lost, you'd stop feeling purposeless, you'd stop feeling all over the place, you'd stop feeling 90% of the things that you are feeling that does not allow you to feel one with all things, that doesn't allow you to feel unconditional love, the aspects of you that doesn't feel grounded. All of that will begin to subside when you realize that all and everything and nothing all has to coexist all at the same time. All of it begins to slow down when you realize that there is no rush, there is no goal, there is no true goal other than spiritual ascension. And what that means is that you are willing to remember, that you are willing to remember from multiple perspectives. And what that means is you are willing and open and non judgmental to experience all versions, all aspects of you and this experience in all the ways that it wants to be experienced. Where, again, you release judgment, you release these goals that you weren't even meant to experience anyway. It's just things that you tell yourself in order to stay stagnant. And it's things that you tell yourself in order to kind of create some sense of control when you don't need to have control anyway. So that's another thing that I feel like is a very big misconception about the human experience and spirituality, is that everybody fights to have this sense of control when this is far from what this experience is supposed to be. Earth is just supposed to be a space of experience. It's not about control at all. If you wanted control, you wouldn't be here. Point blank. Period. If all you wanted to experience was control, this is not the place that you would want to be, because this is the place of absolute spontaneous experiences. everything that you could think of is going to happen in this experience. All things at all times is going to happen in this experience. So, with that being said, true spirituality is releasing a concept of good and bad, because spirituality is really about flow state. Spirit being a spiritual being is about detachment. It's about surrendering. It's about, I'm going to experience all the things that wants to be experienced through me and outside of me, because what is outside of me is actually happening through me. I'm just being a projected image outside of me. So that's again why control is such a paradox of a thing, because that's the other experience and the other perspective of spirituality and what this human experience is all about, where, believe it or not, because I actually love how everybody hates this concept, but I love how I always use it to debunk everything that people are doing to themselves, and why I am such an amazing healer. And it's not to toot my own horn, but it's because I really do create results, because I absolutely understand this one very thing. Everything that is happening outside of you is happening inside of you. So you can break that down in any way possible, and it would always circle back around to your truth if you allow it. And this is why control is such a paradox, because the more you try to control, the more you bring yourself further and further away from your purpose and from your peace. Because again, everything that is happening outside of you is all things that are happening within. It may not always be a specific or literal reflection of yourself, but it is a reflection of you. And it's very important to acknowledge that and be accountable for that, because the moment that you do, again, you will literally create so much more peace within your body, within your vessel, when you really take ownership for your creation. And I feel like that's all the universe and what we are trying to teach ourselves in this experience as well, and what this whole spirituality and spiritual experience and being human, what all of it is all about. It is just the younger versions of the universe trying to teach itself how to be more responsible with creating, but also being irresponsible with creating, because again, you need all aspects, and you get to understand one side by understanding the other, and how all things still have to coexist. So that is also another big lesson about being here. Coexisting is a cheat code. It is your blueprint. And the more you learn to love coexistence, the more you will learn to appreciate, the more you will learn to understand, the more you will learn how to be accountable, and the more you will learn how to love this experience, because then you are really, really tapping into what this is all about. And again, you will save yourself from so much depression, so much disassociation, so much disconnection, if you just really realize that one thing, where it's like, stop fighting, stop trying to create something that you're not supposed to create. Because if you're creating based on what outside of you looks like, you're just going to keep yourself wrapped and stuck in a time loop. And that is another beautiful thing right there. When you think that things just keep happening to you over and over again because you're being punished, joke's on you. You're not being punished. The universe is not punishing you. And that is a victim mentality. And victim mentalities is, again, another blueprint to your existence. If you spent more time trying to understand all the ways that you are playing victim, all the ways that you are pointing fingers, you'll be able to solve a lot of your problems. And speaking from experience, I was queen of victim mentality. Like, put the crown on my head because I found every reason. I found it all. And what was very beautiful about that was actually because I I am an ascended master. I am somebody who is very old. And because of that, I am one of the many who came here to help spread healing, help spread information, help spread healing, help spread all types of things, energy, everything you could think of back onto this planet so that a lot of other people who are newer, who are um, learning a lot, have the space and the guidance to do so. And again, we're going to circle back, not from a place where I'm trying to be a leader because I'm not a leader. I've just mastered a lot of things through how many lifetimes and experiences that I have experienced, that I'm just here to be an example, a smidgen of an example of what other individuals might need in order to figure out certain things for themselves, through themselves, by themselves. Not for me to be the one and all Jesus, because I'm not. I'm just here to be a reminder of things that you might have forgotten, to be the breadcrumbs. And so, because of that, I kind of lost my train of thought, but it's okay. I know I said I'm an ascended master. It's okay, we're gonna keep it pushing. Cause what kind of threw me off track was because I kept seeing myself with the white aura, which the very first time I ever did my aura photos, I did it in Sedona, Arizona. If you know, you know. And my aura was all white. And all white auras are known to be people who are ascended masters that came here to teach and spread information, knowledge, etc. onto the rest. And it's definitely a very important role because I feel like with everyone awakening in the spiritual experience, everybody wants to be a master so bad. Everybody wants to be a master so bad because they want to skip past. Oh, there we go. Got my train of thought back. Everybody wants to skip the hard aspects of healing and their journey. And why I had brought all of that up to say was because I'm an ascended master. I didn't have to go through remembering in the same ways that a lot of other people did. I came here awakened from the moment I was put into that mommy's belly. Like the moment I came out, I was already 5 million trillion years ahead of my time. So much so that I was that kid that a lot of people came to for advice. Yeah, because I just had this natural knowingness. I just already had ideas and concepts of how things were supposed to be. I always had a great sense of understanding that a lot of adults came to me for advice. A lot of other people came to me for advice. I was always that person that people felt very safe and comfortable with. But that also meant that my gifts were very, very active. And because I was very young, I didn't quite know how to be human 100% yet, which a lot of us are still, of course, understanding that as well. But I didn't know boundaries. I just thought it was okay for me to say certain things that I pick up and thought it was normal. I saw things. I was sensitive to spirit. I was sensitive to other people's energies. I was able to read people to filth and not know. And because they also didn't understand what I was doing, a lot of them took it very personal. A lot of them call me a bitch because I was very, very straight to the point with I can feel you, I can see you, and I'm gonna tell you about yourself. And a lot of people didn't like that because they were not used to it. Where we had come to as a human species, a lot of things, a lot of people were used to being very dumbed down and being hidden. But because this is the Aquarian age, which Aquarian is the light bringer, it is the knowledge bringer, it is the awakening, right? Because it's the reminder of all things that already is. Aquarius being all about spirituality, being about technology, being about ancestry, being about revolution, and so much more knowledge, infinite knowledge, esoteric knowledge, especially um us being brought back into the Aquarian age of the equinox cycle, and especially this time more than ever, we are experiencing Pluto in Aquarius, and it's going to be there for a decade or so. And coming out of Capricorn and moving into Aquarius is such a dramatic change. And this is why for the next like 10 years plus, we are going to be seeing very big effects of the Aquarian age. You're going to be seeing very big changes, very, very big transformations. It's going to be taking place for the next decade or so. Because a lot of those shades that we all were wearing, not because we chose to, but because we naturally were just in that space where our value system was based on money and material and physical things. We suppressed a lot, or a lot was already suppressed because, again, we were moved into the sleep age and we were there for a very long time. So now that we are back into this space, it's like our value system again is changing a lot. We are at a point where now we're really awakening to what it means to be spiritual, what it means to be human, and what it means to value things of actual substance. And this is why we're seeing so much change as far as like how people view money, how people view um our eating habits, how we view knowledge, how we view working, especially working, because Capricorn is all about working, whether people accept that or not. Because again, your chart is going to look different based on what you got all going on in your chart. But Capricorn is about physical work, it is about physical realm, it's about money, it's about a lot of physical things. So we are moving out of an age of working and of that being a value system and moving more into your spirit. Your emotional intelligence is actually what's valuable and what's going to get you places. And that's why we're seeing so much job cuts, why we're seeing such a big change in our economy, why we're seeing such a big change and transfer of energy that's going on. So this is also why a lot of people feel like they're losing their minds right now, why they feel so out of place, why they feel so depressed, why they feel so detached, so disassociated, because your value system is being changed as we speak at full light speed. So much within you is being changed, so much within your genetic composition, so much within your DNA structure is being changed. Unfold amounts of amounts of unfolding is happening. So be okay with not knowing what is going on right now, because you're not supposed to. You're supposed to just go with the flow, because what is happening is you're being pushed to really understand who you are, what you are, and why the value system that you had before and for decades of spiritual and energetic existence, why that no longer serves you now. Because again, as we move further and further into the Aquarian age, a lot of these things are not going to be valuable anymore. We're going to see a lot of change in spirituality as well. We already are, because as it's sped up so much in conversations, in our belief systems, what ended up happening was abuse of information, abuse of knowledge, abuse of people, because of how fast we moved through it, that people became more book smart than they did physically, internally, spiritually. A lot of people bypassed their healing journey to just get straight to the knowledge, because what happens there is, because there's such a internal recognition of a transfer of power, people subconsciously thought that the more spiritual that you are, the more power that you have, and people realized internally that that was where the true power was. And so the hunger for power went from money and fame to knowledge, information, spirituality, leadership, in the sense of helping people break out of boxes, etc. So it became like this downhill spiral of who has the best knowledge and who's going to free us, who's going to be the revolution for our era, for our generation of spiritual cages, of infinite cages of all sorts of things, honestly. And this is why we've seen so many spiritual leaders come out to be just as much abusive as anybody else. Why a lot of people used spirituality to use women or use men. Why people use spirituality to use people for money, to gain wealth and richness and fame, but actually wasn't doing any of the work themselves. And a big part of that lesson as well was to also teach people what true spirituality and true human existence really is. Because again, if you're so quick to attach, if you're so quick to do all of this information, if you're so quick to think that any person is capable of being that spiritual in a quick second and they're not an ascended master, red flags. And let's keep it a buck. I know a lot of people in deep in their soul feel that they are ascended masters, and in one aspect they are, because they do help lead a big amount of people. But unfortunately, a lot of people who think there are ascended masters and leaders really are not. And one of those ways that you are able to tell is based on their teaching. If people are teaching you in a perspective to rely on them, that should be your first red flag. Anybody who is sent out to be a guide, you will notice that they actually deal a lot with being a people pleaser, because they understand the value of people having their own power. They understand the value of allowing people to be themselves. Whereas false leaders are going to teach you why being yourself was actually wrong, and why they actually have their true path for you to follow in order for you to really become your true self. And in some cases, some people will be really good at tricking you into thinking that that's what their intentions are. But when you find yourself over reliant on them, that should be a big red flag. I know that it seems like a disservice to yourself to build a platform or build a communication system with everyone else where people do not come back to you every day for information and knowledge, where that feels scary, and it might feel like, oh, but how am I supposed to continue and be my purpose? Well, because a big part of your purpose is just being yourself and being an example. Your purpose is not to be a leader 24/7, 365, where you feel like you don't even got 5 minutes to sit down and be with yourself. Being a true ascended master shouldn't feel like you have to give all your time away and all of your knowledge and everything that you have all day, all the time. That's an imbalance as well. And so while we're on that topic, because I don't want to say too much deep I don't want to say too deep into the basics. I also want to kind of pass through a lot of different things as well, um, without keeping this video too long, because I do want to try to keep this around an hour if I can. But I just want to breeze through real quick as well. Um, Eating habits and the 5D. One of the greatest contradictive conversations that we tend to have as a species. So, someone asked me recently, um, they were very scared, very nervous because they had decided to become plant based, but they also ended up kind of more in like a pescatarian lifestyle, which is, and let's clarify real quick too. Being vegan and being plant-based does not mean that you eat egg. You consume no animal products whatsoever. So when people tell you that they're vegan but they eat fish or they eat eggs, they just don't understand what they're talking about. I'm gonna say it. So if you still consume cheese and eggs, you are a vegetarian. I'm sorry, not a vegetarian. You are look at me messing up. um or I guess, well, let me take that back too, because I guess some people do still consider that to be vegetarian because you are mostly eating vegetables, but you still kind of dibble and dabble in uh animal products. So I'll let that term be a little loose because a lot of people do use that one very loosely. But technically, if you still eat dairy, I'm sorry, you're not vegetarian and you're not vegan. And we need to stop considering vegetarian to also mean eggs, because whether you consider a bird to be an animal is kind of crazy. To not be an animal is kind of crazy to me, or a fish to not be an animal is kind of crazy to me, because that is still a life force. And yes, I know plants are a life force as well, but when I say life force in the sense of food diet eating terminology, if it walks, if it can give birth, it is an animal. Therefore, being a vegetarian, being vegan means that you do not consume animal products, but you still eat processed food. So that means that your food is still going through machinery, it is still going through a reconstruction, and that is what makes you vegetarian and vegan. I feel like vegetarian and vegan is loosely technically the same thing. Vegetarian to me just means like you eat more of a processed diet, whereas vegan is basically, excuse me, vegan is more of like, I don't eat processed foods. So to me, again, vegetarian just means more, makes more sense to me, where it's like, okay, I don't eat animals, but I still eat animal products. Come on now, get it together. I am no longer eating animal products, but I do still eat processed foods. And then vegan to me is what I would like to say is where the terminology plant-based came from. I feel like vegan was what plant-based was supposed to mean, but it ended up being categorized the same as vegetarian, where plant-based means that I don't eat processed food and most of my diet is raw. I eat things just as it is and I don't reconstruct them. So I would say vegan is more of like, I still eat plants and I might do a little bit of reconstruction. So I might cook some quinoa. I might cook me some black rice. I might, make some spelt flour, make some bread. But I mostly eat everything else as it is. I might still put things on the heat. I might cook things a little bit. So to me, that means vegan. And then plant based means that you are raw. You are a raw plant based being, which means that you eat everything cold for the most part. You don't reconstruct in the sense of heating up on the stove or in the oven. Like if you do reconstruct, it still stays in its natural state. Um, it is just being combined with other things, but it's still staying cold and raw. And why I brought this up was because somebody asked me Um, they said that they were a pescatarian, but they recently became very depressed. They became very disassociated to the point where they lost a lot of weight, and they was struggling because they, and this is individualistic. I know y'all might get crazy in the comments, but this person felt like if they started eating meat again, it can help them like kind of just gain some weight, get back into their structure, etc. And their main question wasn't actually about the meat part, which I'm glad wasn't the question, because I don't judge people. You eat how you want to eat. That's up to you. Um, their true question though was, okay, now that I'm dipping back into meat in order to gain weight and to help myself in those aspects, does that mean that I won't be able to tap into the 5D consciousness, and does that mean that I will be restricting myself from that reality, regardless of what that means? If that actually means that we become just spiritual beings and we no longer have a physical body and we move into a whole different density, like whatever being 5D means, does me going back to meat mean that I cannot coexist in that reality? And that's when I realized I needed to talk about spirituality, because I feel like everybody just got it all misconstrued. So spirituality is very much about perspective more than it is truly about good or bad. So my answer to that, and my answer to a lot of things, is it's not about what you do, it's about how you do it. Because I feel like what the universe recognizes more than anything is, are you acting out of unconditional love or not? Are you acting out of balance or not? And when I say balance, I'm talking about the scales of the universe and not the rules and regulations that we have placed upon us by other human beings, because a lot of those rules and regulations actually are very inhumane, and I don't feel like those all necessarily count towards this level of balance that we're talking about. But my response was, you absolutely can still be tapped in with the 5D. What you mean? That don't got nothing to do with nothing. How you eat does not say much. Of course, we do have to take into account, though, if you are eating meat that are coming through slaughterhouses, etc. Of course, you're going to be dealing with some very inhumane living situations, which will absolutely mean that the animals will not emotionally and energetically be in their best space, which does mean that you will still have to transmute the energy that you are intaking, that you will still have to transmute the physical changes and transformations that are happening to your body due to consuming those things. You will still have to put that work in to transmute it, to balance it, and right the wrongs of those frequencies that you are taking on as it meshes with your energetic signature and frequency and emotional body, etc., and how those systems are going to now coexist with yours. There's still a process that you absolutely still have to go through, but what it means to go into the 5D means that you are just structuring yourself to coexist with coexistence. So it's more about, are you being unconditional love or are you not? And that is what truly determines where you are density wise. And it's not about what you eat, because everything can be transmuted. Let's not get it twisted. Energy is energy. So that's why I don't judge people that thinks eating meat is okay, and I don't judge people who don't think meat is okay. Like there's no right or wrong. I don't care what anybody says. There's no right or wrong. Being malicious is a whole nother conversation, but I'm not gonna think you're a malicious person because you think you need to eat meat. That's a personal perspective. I have nothing to do with that. That's between you and your energy. It's not a wrong thing to me. What I consider right or wrong is personal to me. I decided not to eat meat for my own reasons. a big part of that is health conditions, because I noticed a pattern, and after doing a lot of research, I noticed another pattern. But I don't consider that right or wrong still. It's still a personal perspective, and I'm not going to judge anybody. And the more that I connect with this lack of judgment and the more I tap in with unconditional love, the more I get a lot of confirmations for that. A lot of people have confirmation for eating meat, so I can't be mad at that. I can't tell them that they're wrong, you know? So it's very important that we realize that unconditional love, synchronicity, wholeness, and just coexistence is truly the destination. And all of these small in and outs and all of these little wears and tears don't got nothing to do with nothing. So when we create all of these barriers, all of these boundaries when it comes to spirituality and living a spiritual experience, what you end up doing is just caging yourself and creating a fear state reality, because I feel like that is a part of why that person just, kind of made it a little more difficult for themselves, because then it was like, oh man, I can't just be myself. I can't just make a decision or choice because I might mess myself up from experiencing this and experiencing that. And that is what most people do to themselves all the time, and what ends up creating this reality of depression, this health state reality, and then life just keeps manifesting some weird shit. Because you just get so lost in this fear state mentality and reality, and not realizing that you continuously are creating this realm where you'll kind of never be happy. You'll never feel satisfied. You'll never feel satisfied because you've already accepted that the worst is the worst, and you've created the worst, and all you will continue to experience is the worst. And so that's why I wanted to start this conversation about spirituality, because I want to help people remove themselves from this health state that they keep themselves in a time loop within. You are always capable of living a life of balance. And that does mean that you will have difficulty. That will mean you will have hard days. That will mean that things will be very hard. You will cry. You will lose things. You will go through a lot. But that does not mean that you will not go through a lot of beautiful things as well. That does not mean that you'll never find the love of your life. That does not mean that you will never find peace. And whether that's in this lifetime or the next, I really hope that y'all can begin making peace with it, because a big part of why you might not actually experience peace in this lifetime is not because you're not meant to, but because you're running away from balance, because you're running away from the natural laws of the universe, and because you're running away from the natural being and essence that you already are. The more you accept other people's judgments, the more you accept other people's perspectives, the further away you bring yourself from who you are, and the further away you bring yourself from peace and balance and yourself. And that is the main reason why we feel so disconnected, why we feel so depressed and feel so lost in our experience, because we are trying to be everything but ourselves. And a big part to play in that is not because you're just choosing that, but because of the structure of the sleep age and how the rules were created by other human beings, that it kind of just pulled us all away again from the natural laws of who we are and what we came here to be and experience. So I'm going to kind of close this off here, where it's like, this journey will get a lot easier for you once you decide that you're going to live for you. Your journey will get a lot easier once you decide that you want to heal, that you're okay with whatever that healing journey looks like, that you are willing to go to the depths of darkness within yourself. The more that you're willing to be accountable for who you've become because of other people and because of the way the reality was set up, And the more that you realize and the more willing you become to come back to your original organic self and whatever that looks like, the more peace you're going to create. The more patient you become with your process, the more that you realize that everybody else is also just acting out of their own traumas, and the less personal you take a whole lot of the stuff that happens in this world, the more you will bring yourself back to your truth. And so, what spirituality is, at least to me, is the redefining and the reconnection to the authentic truth and the organic being that you are. And recognizing that you already are that thing, but because we are multidimensional beings and we do experience a lot of different things that do cause us to act and respond in many different ways, that is always going to be a constant relearning and re-experiencing. And I want you to understand that spirituality is just really about you learning to love yourself unconditionally. And the more that you learn to love yourself unconditionally, the more you're able to learn to love and experience everything else outside of you unconditionally in love. And you will begin to see life through more beautiful lens, and it will continue to become an example to everybody else. And slowly but surely, and at the perfect pace, actually, everyone else would get to that too as well in their own terms and conditions and their own pace. And so other than just learning to be human, I feel like spirituality is just learning unconditional love. And what that means is just, again, becoming your authentic self, and again, realizing that your outside world is really just a reflection of your internal world. And the more that you accept your internal world for what it is, and the more truthful you are with yourself about what that internal reality truly is, and you truly are honest with yourself, the easier all of it is going to get. And the more that your purpose and everything will begin to reveal itself to you, and the more connected you will start to feel with nature, the universe, yourself, and everything around you. And so, again, please just take your time and be more gentle with yourself more than anything. Don't blame yourself or anybody else. Like, just release that. Just release that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Please release it, because that is truly where your journey starts. Where you remove all of these ideologies, you remove all of these concepts, and you really just come back to, I'm just gonna experience what it is and what it ain't for what it is and what it ain't. You just release all these programs and all these things, and that is truly when you really begin your true spiritual journey. But before you do that, you will experience a false spiritual journey. And I gotta make sure that's clear too. This is also why there's a lot of false spiritual leaders. It's not on purpose. It's just because people don't realize that you gotta figure out and experience what it ain't before you can experience what it is. Because you won't be able to recognize what is if you didn't recognize what isn't first. Point blank. Period. So this is why it's so beautiful, and why I'm so excited and thankful for every single one of you that exist and that I get to experience every day, because we get to see it all the time and get to see the true experience of this reality. So again, like, first you're going to experience a false spiritual existence, because again, you got to figure out the do's and don'ts of the natural laws, right? And after you're done experiencing your false reality, you will begin to experience your true reality, because now you are more open, more willing, and more in an understanding space to unfold yourself truthfully. Now you will be more open to experience the versions of yourself that might be pretty ugly and willing to love that version of yourself. And then that's when you really start to realize, like, oh, hold on. This is why I haven't been able to love everybody else. This is why I've been judging and, this, that, and the third, because I didn't actually love myself all the way. And it's okay, because you live and you learn. And that's why we living and learning. So be easy on yourself as you're going through your first level of spirituality and human experience and just all the things and stuff, right? Um, it just all is. It just all is. And that's like the greatest thing that we could say and not say at the same time. Like all of it just is. Okay. And yeah, just take it easy, man. Life be lifing, but so do you. And you need to let yourself live and stop letting yourself die. Because y'all be living a life of death instead of a life of life. And to close off, um, if you are new here, if you are tuning in, wherever you're tuning in, thank you for getting this far in the video, um, in this episode. Like I said earlier, I am an ascended master. So I offer Reiki, I offer readings, I offer help with your birth chart and helping you to like redirect your life and your purpose. I offer many different services as well as I make crystal jewelry. So these are my new third eye chakra shades. This one is made with amethyst. Catch the vibes, catch the vibes. I also make pendants, rings, all of that good stuff. I also have a meditation book published, so it's available in physical and non-physical. I also have another book about reclaiming your power, but it's called Regenerating Your Power. Um, I also host retreats, so tap in for those as well. We travel the world, we heal, we cry, we laugh, and we eat damn good. Shout out to Injury. I also host the retreats with my amazing host, co-host, um, spiritual partner in teaching the world amongst many other spiritual partners that I'm gaining along this journey. But huge shout out to Khalil. He is such an amazing co-host and host. He's both. I'm also a co-host to his host. Where we host classes, we host meditation sessions, we teach y'all many things, and we help walk you through some very deep healings that y'all are ready to deal with at these retreats. And again, we host around the world, so we are also able to experience different places, different energies, let y'all travel and see the world, and see that there's so much more to you and so much more to life. And together we just hold space for y'all to just really understand yourselves even more and begin taking a chance on yourself, period. um what else do I do? I think that's it. I think that's all I got for you right now, at least, because I'm always creating new ways, new things to help and create and help y'all. So yeah, let me stop babbling though a little bit, just a little bit. So yeah, tap in with my website, nispo.info, to book with me, to work with me, to find out more information about the retreats, as well as you can follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Never Soul. And yeah, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And I look forward to hosting a lot more of these episodes because I've always wanted to do a podcast, and I've been on YouTube for a minute, which is the crazy part. I actually have been on YouTube for a minute. I've been on YouTube like for over 5 years, and um I had stopped posting for a while, as I said, like in the last few episodes, where I don't know, I was just rediscovering myself a lot. And I've always just wanted to create a podcast where I just talk to y'all. I never really liked, creating just to create content. I never really liked that. I'm a storyteller. You feel me? I like to give y'all the long, detailed version of things. So it's always been very difficult for me to be a content creator because I'm like, how am I supposed to dumb down an hour of stuff that I want to say into 2 minutes. Like, it ain't me, but I'm trying. I'm trying, y'all. So bear with me. But this is where it's at. I like to have long conversations, and we just gonna get comfier and comfier and comfier. Wait till I like really have my tea set up and really get my setup set up. But in the meantime, between time, we love where we at, and I am in utmost gratitude for what I have and what I'm doing. And so yeah, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And we will be taking this conversation even further. If y'all have any topics too that y'all want me to talk about, just drop them in the comments or message me. If you got my number, if you got my socials, let me know. And we gonna keep it rolling. And yeah, I hope y'all have a great rest of your weekend. I hope that y'all had a great summer. I hope that you know that you are always capable of having a great day, a great year, a great turnaround. You just got to be willing to turn it around. And yeah, I hope y'all have a great everything. And that's on period. And yeah, she got us. So tap in with me next time. Wholeness.